So first we're going to be talking about a few basics about Greek tragedy. Greek tragedy was the first kind of theater in Europe and originated from a choral tradition at a celebration for Dionysus, where a story would be told through singing. As legend has it, a man named Thespis stepped out of the chorus, actually interacting with the chorus members. So Thespis is considered to be the first actor, and his name is the root word for the word thespian. In Greek tragedy, the actors wear masks which better show the character's emotions. These masks, however, required greater enunciation and projection. There's also a chorus, which is basically a group of people who act as one, performing choral odes. Choral odes are 5 to 10 minute thing about Greek mythology. There are considered to be 6 main elements of Greek tragedy: plot, diction, spectacle, song, and thought. A little fun fact, or something that I thought was interesting, was that there would be people with canes in the audience who would actually control rowdy crowds and keep the audience under control. The source for that is the Oxford University Press. Today we're going to be talking about hamartia, which is considered to be one of the key elements of Greek tragedy. So what is hamartia? Hamartia is sometimes also described as the fatal flaw, and it is essentially what leads to the downfall of a tragic hero or heroine. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, hamartia came from the Greek verb hamartian, meaning to miss the mark or to make a mistake. Aristotle first introduced this term hamartia in the Poetics, and it is describing the error of judgment which ultimately brings about the tragic hero's downfall. Often, as such is the case in Oedipus, the fatal flaw or the hamartia, it's not something negative, as the character truly thinks they are doing a good thing. That's why sometimes the word flaw is not used and hamartia is preferred instead. For example, in Oedipus the king, his fatal flaw is that he doesn't leave the case alone, and he keeps trying to figure out what happened to Laius. If he had just left it alone, he never would have uncovered all these secrets about himself, but he felt that it was his duty as a king. He had to take care of the people, and he had to figure out what happened to Laius. He would not give up. He was too persistent. And that, in the end, was his fatal flaw. Because in searching for Laius and what happened, he came across these prophets and prophecies and realized that he had killed Laius himself, and he had been sleeping with his mother. His prophecy had come true, and to him, that was absolutely the worst possible thing that could happen. And ultimately, this was brought by his hamartia, his fatal error or fatal mistake, when he decided to keep looking in and investigating Laius' murder, when he could have just left it alone. And in Oedipus, there's a specific moment when this fatal choice or fatal error is made, and it's in the beginning of the play when Oedipus says that he will do whatever it takes to figure out who killed Laius so he can save Thebes. Because he vows to himself and his people that he will not rest until he knows who killed Laius. If he had just left it at that and not actually searched for the killer, he would never have figured out it was himself. And this is a moment in the play when that fatal error or fatal mistake is made. This is the first moment when there's talk of it and Oedipus commits himself to solving the mystery. So obviously this moment of hamartia or of this fatal error is really important, but I think that in the script it can be a little bit hard to realize that this is such an important moment. So the way that I would be directing this play, if I was doing my own production of Oedipus, I would want to further the audience that this is a mistake. By saying this, he is completely changing the outcome of life. So if I was directing this in modern times, I'll probably show this by having the lighting turn red, just upon his statement, which would be signifying a change, that this is something bad, this is different, because red often has that connotation, and red also is like blood. and the blood that was spilled and the blood that will be spilled when he punishes himself, the blood that was spilled for his fatal error, which, by the way, is called the scene of suffering. So, but if I was directing this in Greek times without that kind of modern technology, I would probably have the chorus gasp. So he'd be like, I will do whatever it takes, and go, or everybody would sway ever so slightly. So it wouldn't be like a big movement where everyone's like, it would be more of like a small little shift, and this would show how like the slight change of everyone's positions would show how Oedipus's path in life has now changed, and it would show this shift, this changing path. It would show visibly, and without these directing things, I'm not sure the audience would recognize that a fatal error or hamartia had been made. In fact, I didn't realize until I went back and I looked at it, that the moment when Oedipus vows to find the killer of Laius, this was the hamartia. I only realized that going back. So using directing, I could make this a little bit more obvious and more clear to the audience. When we're talking about hamartia and fatal flaws in movie and TV shows, one example came to my mind, and I tried to think of something else, but I felt like it was the best thing that illustrated my point. And what came to mind was the movie, The Little Mermaid. And I was thinking of Ariel and how she has a hamartia, or I'm not sure the tense, but she does hamartia. She has a tragic flaw or tragic mistake that she makes. Although the Disney princess movies are certainly not Greek tragedies, they almost always have happy endings, Ariel had one main tragic flaw or mistake, and it was that she wanted to go to the surface. It could have been very bad. So you can say it can be considered that this hamartia that Ariel made was when she decided to go to the surface, and it had negative effects on her, and it also changed the course of her life. And this is the same as it is in The Little Mermaid and in Oedipus. But we'll see hamartia is also present in other works of literature and TVs, like, for example, Harry Potter. There, he has some tragic flaws, like he doesn't trust the Ministry of Magic. So we can see that Greek tragedy, it was the roots for many modern forms of entertainment today. Also, sorry about my cat. So I guess the big question is, what does hamartia have to do with me as a learner and as a performer, and what does it have to do with your life? Now, in our lives, we make plenty of decisions throughout the day, and we cannot see how each of our decisions impacts our future decisions. For example, let's say this morning I chose to have eggs for breakfast. I could not see the alternate realities where I chosen to have waffles or I chosen to have pancakes, and I can never know that. So we have to make choices not knowing how they're going to affect our lives. And hamartia is a big choice or a big decision that the character makes that they don't know is going to negatively affect their life in such a way. Future is something that's mostly unknowable. With theory of knowledge classes, we can explore kind of how our daily decisions affect our life and our reality, but in the end, we can never know until we make that choice. And we should remember that we should to make conscious decisions about what we're doing, and every decision that we have has a ripple effect. And you may sometimes make big mistakes like hamartia, or something about your character or a mistake you make or a choice you make that can have a negative effect on you in the future. But it's important to remember that it's not the end, and we can still continue our lives from that. So as a learner and as a performer, this affects me because as a performer, when I'm playing a role and I'm analyzing my character, I want to take into mind the aspects of the character or what their flaws or hamartia might be, so I can better portray those on stage. And when I'm performing in something, if there's a big choice that an actor makes or that a character makes that is going to alter their life negatively, I'm going to want to put an emphasis on that.